In a world where AI gives us exactly what we want in a matter of seconds, why would we bother building a personal knowledge management system at all? In this video, I'm going to explore what we might miss when we outsource our second brains to LLMs or AI, and the benefits of continuing to build a personal knowledge management practice. In this video, I'm going to be looking at 5 aspects: the beauty of unoptimized search, the importance of being able to ground the abstract. The third one is the importance of personalization. The fourth is the necessity of some friction in the process. And the fifth is maintaining our humanity and continuing to use these wonderful brains. I am going to look at how AI can be supportive of this process, but for the most part, it's going to be pro PKM with AI as an additive side feature. As always, these are my completely subjective thoughts. They are not evidence-based. It's just my experience of using the tools and, take it with a pinch of salt. But if you're new to the PKM journey, maybe you'll find some inspiration here. Or if you've been in it for a long time, maybe you also find some inspiration to keep going and continue building. Let's dive in. So the first point that I'm going to look at is the beauty of unoptimized search. And I've always thought that the main function or the main problem that PKM solves, one of them at least, is being able to retrieve the information you need very quickly. So it's a retrieval problem. But it's actually not that. It's a connection problem, a broader joining the dots in your workspace. So this is the problem. AI's precision eliminates all of this randomness and serendipity. The algorithms are optimized to find exactly what you're looking for. And that means that you don't find what you might not be looking for, but things that might have yielded value. And these unexpected discoveries are often where the valuable insights lie. So it's about joining the dots, or at least being able to connect the dots. And this is the next point over here, that PKMs foster creativity and depth, which thrive on randomness, not efficiency. So Gordon Brander, who writes Squishy Computer and used to build a PKM tool himself, said, complex problems can't be solved by finding the next stepping stone. The solutions are a set of stepping stones, and they might be discontinuous. So a personal knowledge system creates the conditions for these happy accidents and the stepping stones that allow you to find these insights. And the random connections you make when wandering through old notes are often generative. So it's the things that you, as I said, weren't actually looking for that might yield a new train of thought. And this is where the richness lies. And I've just mentioned mind sparks here. And, I could also call them weird synchronicities if you're into that sort of thing. But while I was writing about Tibetan Buddhism, let me go and have a look at this note over here. I was talking about this book, The Joy of Living. And then I saw a note from October 2022, which was looking at the rainbow bodies. And this is a phenomenon that is being explored in Tibetan Buddhism, or not the esoteric side of it. And I actually had a conversation with a friend that day about rainbow bodies that he brought up, and it was just a weird connection. Another thing here is just a journal note that I wrote about executive dysfunction. What's over here? Yeah, okay, cool. I'm doing some volunteer work and it just feels like there's a lot of things on the go. And then I actually went and looked at this book, which I had tagged there. So Scattered Minds is a book by Gabor Mate. And I just started reading some of these again, and it was quite useful. And I started tagging, and, so it's not like a very linear process of I do this and I find that. It's this generative approach. And then I saw this, the emotional states of adults with ADD go through rapid and unpredictable up and down swings. And then I spoke about dysthymia, and then it took me to another book where Henry Schuckman had spoke about his own dysthymia. Anyways, so also while researching this video, I traversed some notes from Maggie Delano, and if I look here, there was one down here, why I hate learning in public. And there was this irony, and I posted a tweet literally that same day as well, which is established creators market "you can do it too" materials to new and aspiring creators, the lion's share of whom then go on to produce content for new and aspiring creators themselves. And I had spoken about this recursive content creator loop. And this is just a random example of where these mind sparks happen, and I can tag it, and then for future reference, I could say, if I wanted to write more about it, I'd be able to reference this. I just wanted to talk about the opportunity cost of this direct queries. I've also experienced this firsthand. When I was writing about a river, I had a post where I was looking at water. I went directly to ChatGPT and I asked, for all the quotes in Siddhartha that refer to river. Now, this was very good. I got them very quickly and I was able to choose the ones. But I traded the possibility of unexpected insights for this quick information retrieval. And I actually wanted to take it another level here, which is perhaps more like a romantic notion, but the idea that I missed out on the richness of exploring the material again. So going to Siddhartha and looking through all of these different notes over here. Now, I could actually go there and say river, and it will take me to quotes on the river in Siddhartha 2. So that's one way of doing it. But when I actually went and looked at Siddhartha again now, I really, like, this quote really resonated. We are not going in circles, we are going upwards. The path is a spiral. We have already climbed many steps. And then it just took me down a few mental rabbit holes, the spiral staircase of life. And I spoke to a friend about this the other day, well, not the other day, but in 2023. And yeah, this ability to just find information serendipitously and just trawl through the crevices of your mind and find nodes of insight or just things that you might want to connect for future reference. Very helpful in a creative context. The second point that I'm going to talk about is grounding the abstract. And the first point here is writing as a tool for thinking. Actually, let me just zoom out and what I say, grounding the abstract. Well, we live in a world of many abstractions, like where we're dealing with concepts and ideas and everything is very ephemeral in the thought space. And putting that thought into writing is a very helpful way to ground it and also to hone your thought. And if I just go in here, I've said here, writing is to complex thought what paper is to mathematics. So being able to do your sort of calculations by hand on paper, it helps you to make those things more tangible. And externalizing thoughts onto the page allows you to examine those thoughts from different perspectives, to also refine and revisit them over time, and I'll speak to that a little bit later, and then identify logical gaps or inconsistencies. And often it's this process of articulating an idea which forces us to really question if it's true, and it can fall apart when we need to write about it. And I have a friend who's gotten into Obsidian, and he says this has been the most helpful thing for him to actually see that when he starts writing his arguments, they sort of fall apart, and to be able to reconstruct them and write them in different ways. The next point that I've got here is writing as a tool for emotional grounding. And I've said there, using end-to-end encrypted tools so that no one else can read your thoughts. It's not saying that when tools aren't end-to-end encrypted that people are actually reading your thoughts. You might be hacked, I might be hacked, who knows. But I quite like having a place where I can just journal my thoughts and be able to just dump things that are nebulous. And this is what I've said here. The personal impact for me has been quite transformative. It's converted the swirling mass of thoughts into concrete things that I can then manage and forget about. And I can tag them. I use the tags fleeting and observation. I've spoken about them before. But for me, it's also actually allowed me to let go of those thoughts, to realize that they're impermanent and, a thought is just thought. And I don't have to hold on to it and don't have to be attached to it. To know that I have a place where I can put it if I want to sort of work with it. The next point here is engaging with past versions of yourself. And this has been super valuable for me. So written thoughts become these time capsules of your intellectual, emotional journey. And what it reveals is how your thinking has evolved, or maybe not evolved, patterns in your interests, and then also insights you once had and may have forgotten. And I went through a particularly challenging time over the last year, and going back and looking at some of those things now, it's like, oh, I didn't have to worry about that. And that thing shifted. And it's just a helpful, almost a coach to oneself to see, things change and perspectives shift. And also there are some patterns that I just get stuck in these same ruts, and to do the work of shifting those patterns and not just falling into those ruts. And it requires conscious hard work. So this also just creates a richer understanding of yourself. You can think about something in a moment, but not actually be fully aware of how that has progressed in your history. Very, very helpful. So I've just said the example there is finding a note from 2 years ago and a problem. And I've got so many examples of this, and therapy notes and different things that I was discussing. Very good to, just also give yourself a pat on the back to see how far you've come or how far you haven't come. Who knows? Okay, and then this one for me is really important. Managing actions and references systematically. Writing creates this bridge between these abstract concepts and, concrete actions. I want to take these things and I want to make them actionable. What are the 10 steps? Not just like, we need to do this thing. People say, we just need to do that. Well, just actually means like 10 different things. Like, how do I break that down? I love outliners for that. I love Tana for that. You can also use Logseek, but yeah. Anyways, having structured approaches for different types of content, project notes where you're capturing decisions, open questions, next steps, super useful. I almost don't know how I worked before I had a tool like this. Reference material where you are collecting notes about different things and then distilling them into summaries or just a reference bed that you can go and use again. And then action items, transforming insights into specific doable tasks. Super important to just like break the things down and know that they are taken care of in a system. So for example, when researching a new topic, I'll outline the key questions, or I've got a specific template that I use to frame the problem, and then from there I will start writing or doing research that I need. Okay, integration with your PKM system. The final point, this is a little bit sort of, on the side, but these don't exist in isolation. They sort of feed into your personal knowledge management system, and also creates raw material. Now, when I'm doing journaling, I often tag different emotional states, or hypothetically anger or happiness, whatever. And then when I'm searching or researching a topic later on, I'll often just like click into that tag and then see what's come up there. Very useful. I'm not going to do that now because it's my personal database, and I never know what I'm going to find. And the more you articulate your thinking and writing, the richer the connections you discover through this like unoptimized searches. Okay, so as I said, the approach here is not just information capture, but also a process to transform your thinking. Okay, we now come to the P of personal knowledge management, and that is the power of personal notes. So personalization here is the key differentiator. It's about having your own second brain rather than this generalized amalgamation of everyone's second brain. And I'm going to show an example of this just now, but it reflects your unique perspective and also highlights what was salient to you at the moment, and then builds the connections that you can go back to later. And this information is connected to your specific context and projects. And this allows for context-rich problem solving. So personal notes carry the context of your specific memories. Sounds a little bit weird. What am I saying here? So the example I'm going to look at is when researching cloud hosting alternatives in a discussion with a friend, he's using Google Cloud. So I know that I had taken a note somewhere about hosting. So I went and I looked in hosting, and just through a little quick scroll down here, I found, isn't what I was looking. Oh, there we go. Using Cloudways with DigitalOcean. That's the tool that I was looking for to reference to him. So then I can then go and highlight that and create a new page, and I then sent it to him. But then I also had I remember a tweet that Daniel Vassallo posted, and if I go and filter over here for something about cloud, there we go, Google Cloud. No, it's not there. So let me just say, uninclude that, there, cloud storage. There we go. And now if I go and I look at this page over here, I see there that he was talking about a tool called Hetzner, and that's another tool that I can then forward to my friend. So it's being able to find these things. And if you were to go and enter into an LLM, what is an alternative for S3 or whatever? It's unlikely that you would find Hetzner. The next point here is customization that supports your unique workflow. So configuring your PKM system to align with your thinking patterns. So reduced friction when capturing and retrieving information, and ways of working that complement the way that you work. Like, if you are someone who is very scattered or whatever, you just want to quickly drop something in and tag it, perfect. You can do that. Or you can add lots of structure and add lots of links and, build a map of content. So many different ways of working, and all are permissible and all are useful. Well, most of them are useful. And then also these systems that evolve to or adapt to your evolving needs, rather than, having to go and search all the time, and just becomes a place that builds for you and with you. And then something here which I've said, and I'm going to probably challenge this a little bit later, or some will challenge this, but it's a foundation for augmented intelligence. Now, I've spoken about how some things I don't want to upload to the cloud, or the journal stuff, for instance, but really this personal knowledge system becomes a tool that, or a foundation for AI tools to use in future. And it's a compound effect where AI tools can theoretically process your notes, and then your queries to AI are informed by your personal knowledge base. And there's already an example of this, which is the Obsidian Smart Connections plugin. But yeah, it keeps information in your machine locally, but you can still use AI to search through it. I'm not too familiar with the details, but very cool to check it out. And this was in the Every channel, I think. And I can go there and see here. People who organize, store, and catalog their own thinking and reading will have a leg up in an AI-driven world. This next point is probably my favorite point here, but something which I fight a lot, which is the necessity of friction. And it's consumption versus understanding. AI is just a stream of information. It's in one ear, out the other. There's a huge difference between this passive consumption and active understanding. And I've seen this in my own research, specifically to the Buddhism example. I've asked AI all these questions, but I can give you some sort of base structure. But if I'd written it myself, I would have had so much more knowledge there. Anyways, something I'm working on. And the second point is to improve learning and understanding, there's a necessary friction. The work is what makes things sticky. There's actually a book called Make It Stick. Haven't read it, but it talks about this, and yeah, you can read a summary. And wrestling with the thoughts, the work of summarization in some context, or whatever it is, it's what really makes the concept stick. And putting in your own words and transforming it into something valuable for yourself. The effort required to process this information is exactly what embeds it in memory. And I think our memories are becoming quite poor. And I'm going to speak to this a little bit later. Anyways, comprehension takes place at the friction points of writing about it or wrestling with the idea. Okay, I've actually spoken about that there, a little bit of duplication. So making maps of content or refactoring your notes, huge thing here. Refactoring your notes and like structuring things in a way for yourself, that brings a lot of understanding. And then creating scratch pads or repositories that allow you to expand on your ideas. And just a point there, you're looking for insights, and insights emerge through the process. They don't just come as a stream of text. And this friction is what creates the cognitive conditions where connections form and your understanding deepens. So the final point there is the goal is the process. So speed is not necessarily the objective. The resistance encountered when working through these difficult topics or the difficult working with information is a feature, not a bug. And the struggle is itself what generates the byproducts of insight and connection. And this enables you to apply what you learn more effectively. And this means that the knowledge becomes uniquely yours and is integrated within your existing understanding, and is not just some sort of ephemeral thing that you go and quickly search over there, but it's really embedded as part of your being. Point number 5, maintaining humanity and privacy. And I am going to go out on a limb here and say that humans are mostly wonderful. Minds are a wonderful thing. Minds flourish when thinking and grappling with problems. And there's something irreplaceable about human thought and creativity that deserves protection. And I'm sure you've all seen AI-generated content and how hollow it feels. Even this recent one that Sam Altman spoke about, which is this piece written by AI. So some of you may have seen this. I honestly did not even try and read it. Well, I started, but it started feeling very hollow very quickly, as opposed to something which is this beautiful poem on Instagram, which I will go to now. This guy over here, if you can find it, I'll add it in the links. This is truly beautiful to go and see what he has spoken about. And AI cannot do things like this. There's something about the humanity of poetry and writing that is really precious. It can aid your writing. It's definitely aided mine. But yeah, I think the fact that we have this like lived experience is what makes our lives compelling. But this is going to get into more philosophical things. I guess this is a philosophical thing. And here I had a conversation with someone the other day, or there was someone that I was on a call with, and they spoke about having a boundary between cloud and local machine, like Zion in the Matrix. And this is why some people really like Logseek as local first and will not use something like Tana, which is cloud-based. And but everyone has their preference, and you can do whatever you want. And I can definitely see the appeal of that, though, like, not having all your thoughts uploaded to the cloud. I upload some of them, but I don't upload all of them. Who knows, this might change in the future. There's also something about the ability to switch off from the internet and to work with your own thoughts, not having to go to AI, not becoming overly reliant on AI, which creates space for this genuine reflection. My PKM system serves as this protected space where thoughts can develop organically. The last point here is using our minds wisely and resisting enstoppification. Now, enstoppification, it was this article that I read a few days ago. It stems from the deadly sin of sloth, where individuals and organizations choosing the path of least resistance invite a slow, creeping decline. Speaks about how we're becoming lazy. And in the article, he speaks about the Greeks who lost writing in, Linear B, which is their script around 1200 BCE. And the Greeks who lost writing didn't grasp their loss until centuries later. Will future generations see our era as one where we traded cognitive autonomy for convenience? And I think our personal knowledge systems are a small but significant resistance to prevent this cognitive outsourcing. Having said all that, let's get into the next point, which is what AI is good for. Because I really do believe that AI is helping me a lot in my own work, and I don't want to give it a bash. I really think it's about complementary approaches rather than replacement. AI works best alongside human thinking, not as a substitute. And as I've said before, we want to augment our intelligence, not replace it and enstopify our minds. And just something here is that I haven't written, but editing, AI is very good for editing. Okay, it could have removed some of the duplicates from this, but maybe I should have given specific instructions. Anyways, improving the relevance of search is one of the most important things. And this is the one that is done by the Smart Connections app. So AI excels at identifying potentially relevant connections among a sea of notes. And people often talk about just linking it for you, but I don't think that's the important part. Well, I don't think that's a good thing. I think AI can show you the candidates for connection, and then you make the connections yourself, because this creative synthesis, this actual connection making is what makes it stick. And there's just a bunch of quotes that have come up here. You can see who it's from. This was with Joel Chan and Maggie Delano. AI should be about resurfacing, not connecting. There's something about that creative manual work and the friction. And then, how do I find the note that's relevant for that? Another thing is AI as a thought partner. So bouncing ideas backwards and forwards. I love using Claude to just record my ideas and then have it play it back or structure an argument. And I say, no, but what about this? Just walking around the room, very helpful. And this back and forth also generates new perspectives. However, final point, this dialogue is especially valuable when you've actually developed your own thoughts first and you're using it as an aid rather than relying on it. And then offloading the grunt work. Okay, so AI shines handling routine tasks. I'm sure you all know this, but sometimes more complex tasks like audio transcriptions or OCR from files really is a game changer. Just upload something, use Google Lens or put it in Claude or whatever and just say, give me the text from this and copy paste it into something rather than having to manually manually type the different things. And it frees up mental bandwidth for deeper, more creative thinking, hopefully. And this time saved can then be reinvested in friction positive activities. Hopefully, again, this is very ideal. Sometimes you can also just relax. And then quick searches. So for fact-finding missions where depth isn't your primary concern, so if you don't want to find quotes from a great text like Siddhartha, where speed genuinely matters more than serendipity. So Perplexity and Grok are excellent. Perplexity is free, the one that I'm using, and Grok is included in my X subscription. OpenAI Pro is also good at searching, but I've now downgraded that subscription because these two are doing more than enough for me. The final point here, manipulating large amounts of information that is superfluous. So when dealing with information, you don't need to put too much stock in. And I actually spoke to someone on the Tana team who showed me her workflow for, putting a YouTube video in Tana and then getting it to summarize the script and see if it aligns with her outcomes or her goals for watching the video. So this first pass filters that help identify what deserves deeper human attention. Very good for that. So wrapping it all up, I think as AI evolves, our personal knowledge management systems will definitely retain their value and maybe even become more valuable in the long term. AI is really a cognitive aid and yeah, should prevent ourselves from the slippery slope of enstopification, as that other article pointed out. I'll link to that below. If you are not yet in this journey of personal knowledge management and it's a bit overwhelming, it really is just an encouragement to start small. Don't overthink it. There's lots of ways that you can structure things, and you'll see lots of different content creators telling you to do this and telling you to do that. Start small, just a couple of links here and there, and eventually over time, your system will really grow with you. And I remember hearing it so often when I started, and I was like, no, it won't. I want the answers. And if you want the answers, fine, have a look at the courses. I've put all the answers in there for you. But really, you can just start with your system as is and slowly build it up over time. One final thing to say there is really to embrace the friction. It's all good and well to have AI that can solve all these things for you, but your brain is a delight. You probably a delight. Maybe you're a chop. But yeah, I fully encourage you to just go with the process and build a PKM system that can support you over the long run. If you want more information, have a look at the courses below. But yeah, this should be a good enough point of departure to encourage you to just get into Logseek or Tana and give it a go. Cheers.